Hello and welcome back to the Jam Sports Podcast. We are back after a little summer break, I guess. Well, I'm back, solo episode today. I'm going to give you guys my Premier League predictions for the upcoming 24-25 season. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new. Follow us on your podcast platforms, Instagram, TikTok, etc. And I'll just get straight to the video, starting off with the 3 relegation teams. Now, it's going to be a little bit boring, but I do have all 3 teams that came up this season going right back down, similar to last season. I got Southampton 20th, Leicester 19th, and Ipswich in 18th. I just don't think any of these 3 teams are really good enough to stay up. Obviously, Ipswich was really good in the Championship last season, but I don't know if it'll translate. We saw that with Burnley. It definitely did not translate to the Premier League, and they went right back down. I would say Leicester maybe has a good chance, but they did lose Dewsbury Hall to Chelsea, which I think will hurt them in the long run. They also lost Iheanacho. Honestly, I didn't really follow the Championship last season, so I don't really know if he did good, but I know he's a pretty solid player, and he's gone to Sevilla. And to be honest, I don't really know much about the players that they brought in. I do know Buonanotte on loan from Brighton is a pretty decent signing for them, but other than that, I don't think Leicester really has the team, especially the depth, to stay up this season. I would like to see them stay up. I think they belong in the Premier League, but personally, I think they're going to be going straight back down. So I got Leicester, Southampton, and Ipswich going down. And in 17th, narrowly avoiding the relegation, is going to be Everton. Now, obviously, I think they were good last season, even with the 10-point deduction. I think they played well towards the end of the season to not go down. But losing Onana, I think, will be a huge loss for them. Losing Onana is a big loss. Obviously, they got a lot of money for him. So yeah, that's a big loss. And I think the players that they brought in just don't really have the same, obviously, effect as Onana. Neil Maupay could come in and get some goals for them. He's proven he can do it in the Premier League, but I don't think that's really the kind of transfer that keeps you alive, although they will be staying up this season. Just in 17th, it'll be close. In 16th, I'm going to have Fulham. I think they overachieved last season a little bit. They do have some big losses in Palhinha, Willian leaving as well. I think will hurt them. They've done some good business. I've been impressed with their business. Bringing in Emile Smith, there obviously, being as an Arsenal fan, I'm sad to see him leave, but I hope he shines at Fulham. They got Ryan Sessegnon, I believe, back. I believe he was at Fulham, and now he's back there on a free transfer. So we'll see what he can do. Hopefully he gets some game time. I know he was really hyped up when he went to Spurs and didn't really prove much. And then they got Kevin Mbabu on loan. If you know, a FIFA legend. So we'll see what Fulham can do. I would like to see them do as good as they did last season, but I think they're going to take a little bit of a step back. I have them at 16th, like I said. 15th, I'm going to say Brentford, which would actually be one spot better than they finished last season. Now they're going to have Tony for the full season. They got Fabio Carvalho from Liverpool. Be interesting to see what he can do. Didn't really live up to expectations at Liverpool, so we'll see if he can shine by getting a little bit more game time at Brentford. But other than that, I think they'll be right around where they were last season, even though they're going to have Tony for the full season if he ends up staying, which it looks like he probably will. And 14th, taking a step back this season, I'm going to have Bournemouth. I think losing Solanke will be a big loss for them. Bringing in Sinistera, he's a good player from Leeds. We'll see what he can do in the Premier League. And then Enes Unal as well from Getafe, striker, I guess, to replace Solanke. We'll see what he can do, but I just see Bournemouth taking a little bit of a step back this season, mainly due to the loss of Solanke. And I think the other teams around them in that mid to bottom tier table, I think, have just gotten better when Bournemouth didn't really strengthen that much. In 12th, 13th, I'm going to have Wolves. I think they'll be better than last season. Last season, I think they were a little bit of a disappointment for me personally anyways, finishing in 14th. Now, obviously, losing Pedro Neto will be a big loss. Losing Kilman will be a big loss, but they've done some interesting business, bringing in some youngsters, Pedro Lima, Rodrigo Gomez, Tommy Doyle, etc. So I think they will have a little bit of a better season this year, finishing 12th mid-table, which seems to be the standard for Wolves these days. They're not quite what they were like 4 or 5 years ago when they were fighting for European places. So I think they'll nestle back into the mid-table area again, finishing at 13th. And 12th, I'm going to have Forest. I think they are going to have a much better season than last year, almost getting relegated last year, finishing 17th. This might be my most rogue shout, perhaps, having Forest bounce that high up the table. But I like Elliot Anderson signing. They paid quite a heavy fee for him, but I think he'll be good. Nikola Milenkovic from Fiorentina looks like he could be a solid young defender as well. And obviously they did lose a few players, notably Niakate, I think that's how you pronounce his name, going to Lyon. But other than that, I think they've done well to kind of hold on to some players. Mangala leaving to Lyon, he didn't really do much for me, especially in the Euros. He was kind of disappointing. So I think Forest will have a nice bounce back season, and I see them finishing 12th. I could be very, very wrong on that one, but that's just what I see. In 11th, for me, the top half of the table is where it gets a little bit tough. I think all these teams are solid, but I do have Crystal Palace finishing 11th. Obviously, they were playing very well towards the end of last season with their new manager, but losing Olise, I think will be a huge loss. Luckily for them, Eze stuck around. I think he's an incredible player, one of my favorite players to watch. Honestly, I hope he stays at Palace or goes to Arsenal. That's just me, though. So losing Olise, I think, will be quite the loss for them. I don't know if they're going to be able to replace him. Now, they did bring in Sarr from Marseille. I don't think that's going to be quite the replacement for Olise. I could be wrong. I'm excited to see how he does. It could be interesting. And then we'll see if Mateta can keep it up. He had a very, very strong finish to the end of last season. Was scoring some goals in the Olympics as well. So if he keeps it going, if Eze has a very good season again, and if Sarr can do something in that position, I think Palace could have a mid-table. I think they could be one or two places higher, one or two places lower than what I have them, but I have them at 11th for now. And now we head into the top half of the table. 10th, I have West Ham. I think they did some very good business in the transfer window so far. It's not over yet. Bringing in Kilman, bringing in Todibo. I don't know how they managed to get Todibo. I know he's a very highly touted player, so good for them for getting him in. And it looks like Wan-Bissaka is going to West Ham as well. Maybe it's already been confirmed. I'm not too sure yet. Somerville could be a good signing for them as well. And then the one that I'm most looking forward to seeing would have to be Nicholas Füllkrug. I think he could be good in the Premier League. Big physical striker, so that'll be interesting to see. Obviously, Paqueta, not sure what's happening with him, if he's going to be suspended or not. I think he will be suspended. And luckily for West Ham, they didn't really lose anybody too crazy. So the only thing I would have them higher, but I'm not sold on Lopetegui as a manager. Obviously, at Real Madrid, he didn't really do anything too crazy, which is a wild thing to say if you manage Madrid and don't really show your skills. And then he went to Wolves, didn't really do too well there. So we'll see what he can do at West Ham. I think they have a solid squad this season, and we'll see what they can do. Now, 9th, I have Brighton. I think they will be a little bit better than they were last season. Obviously, they don't have European football to deal with this year. And bringing in Minta, I think he'll be a very good player for them. I think he could have a breakthrough season. Obviously, they did lose Pascal Gross, which is like called here over there at Brighton. He's going back to Dortmund. So we'll see what Brighton does. I'm sure they're just going to have some young player come through that no one's ever heard of and tear up the league. That seems to be what they do over there. So 9th, Brighton. 8th, I'm going to have Chelsea. Again, I just don't know what they're doing over there. They spent like crazy this summer again. They lost Gallagher, of course, but honestly, not that big of a deal. So I don't know. I think last summer they did better than this summer, if that makes any sense. But they just keep spending and spending. They got Neto, Dewsbury Hall, Jorgensen, Kellyman, a whole whack of players coming in, and then they have lost Maatsen, Lewis Hall, Omari Hutchinson to Ipswich. So Chelsea, I don't know what they're doing. Like I said, they basically have 4 full squads over there. New manager again, so I'm not sold for Chelsea. I think they're going to struggle again this season with just the chemistry in the squad. I don't see it. 7th, taking a little bit of a step back, is going to be Aston Villa. Obviously, losing Douglas Luiz is a big loss, but bringing in Onana is a pretty good replacement if you ask me. And basically, I don't know if Ollie Watkins is going to be able to do as well as he did last season. He had a pretty good Euros when he did come on. But I think Unai Emery, very good manager. Obviously, being an Arsenal fan, I know all about Unai Emery. So I think he'll keep Villa in and around the European spots. They do have Champions League this season, so that's going to be something new for them. But I do have them taking a little bit of a step back, going to 7th. Sixth, I have Newcastle. I think they definitely underperformed last season, finishing in seventh. They have lost a few players, Elliot Anderson, Minta, but then they brought in Lewis Hall, and they're going to have Tonali back, I believe. So that's like a new signing for them, basically. So I think Newcastle, based on how they performed last season, getting Tonali back, getting a few young players in the squad, Anthony Gordon is going to be 1 year older, 1 year better. I think he's really good young. I think he's a really good, solid player. So I definitely think Newcastle could have a bounce back season. Unfortunately, they don't have Botman right now. I think he's injured. So that could be interesting. Their defense might be a little shaky at the beginning of the season, but I think if they can weather that storm, they'll be okay. That moves me to fifth. I'm gonna have Manchester United. I think they are getting better, I want to say. They haven't really brought in a striker yet to kind of get them some goals. We'll see if Rashford has a bounce back season because they're kind of lacking goals last season. Interestingly enough, they did bring in a lot of defenders, Yoro, De Ligt, Mazraoui, and their defense, in my opinion, I think was pretty solid last season. So interesting there. I think their back four is going to be solid. And then they brought in Xerxes to play striker, I guess. Play number 9, number 10. We'll see what he can do. He's going to have to play well. I think he's injured as well right now, unfortunately for them. So 42 million for him. Again, and a little bit of a FIFA legend. So we'll see if he can do it in the Premier League for Manchester United. And I'm still not really sold on Ten Hag. I am honestly surprised he's still there. But I do have United getting into the top 5. That moves us to the top 4. And at 4th place, one position higher than last season, I do have Tottenham. I think Solanke is a nice addition to that squad, replacing Kane maybe one season later than I'm sure they would have liked. But bringing Solanke in, Son is going to be back. I think he's going to have a solid season. He kind of had a little bit of a down season last year, but I think he'll be back to his regular self, hopefully for Spurs fans anyways. So I see Spurs getting back into the top 4, back to the Champions League, them getting 4th. 3rd, I have Liverpool again. It will be interesting to see how they do with their new manager. Didn't really make any signings in the offseason or in the summer transfer window. Only lost Fabio Carvalho. So they're coming back with pretty much the same squad. Obviously, Salah, a year older. Van Dijk, a year older. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. I don't know. I think 3rd is good for them. I think I could see them falling back to maybe 4th or 5th with their new manager. We'll see how quickly he can get them to play the way he wants to play. And like I said, they didn't really make any signings, so it'll be interesting to see how Liverpool does. I think they kind of surprised me last season with how well they played, but we'll see how they do this season. I'll definitely be interested to see that. And then moving into the top 2 positions, obviously Man City has three-peated. Will they do it a 4th time? Personally, for me, I'm going to say no, but I said Arsenal would win last season. The season before that, I don't think I had Arsenal winning, but I definitely had them winning last season. They fell a little bit short, but I do think they'll get it done this season. I think City is just, obviously they're a very, very good squad still, world-class squad, world-class manager, but I see them taking a little bit of a step back this season. De Bruyne is a year older, lots of rumors about him going to Saudi. He didn't really have the best season last year either, and they haven't really done too much business besides bringing in Savinho. I think Julian Alvarez is going to be a huge loss for them, despite obviously they still have Haaland, but I think Alvarez just is a different type of player to Haaland. I think Alvarez is criminally underrated. He had a very good Copa America. I think he did it well at the Olympics as well, and obviously he's done it for the past few seasons now at Man City, and he moving on to Atletico Madrid I think will be a huge loss, and I don't know if City will be able to really cope without him, but obviously, like I said, they still have De Bruyne, who had an off season last year, but he could bounce back. They got Haaland, they got Bernardo Silva. They still got an incredible squad, and I think they could win. They could four-peat. No one's ever three-peated before. No one's ever four-peated before in City. If anyone's going to do it, it's going to be City. So with all that being said, though, I think Arsenal will do it this season. I think the squad is strong. I think Martinelli will have a bounce-back season. Gabriel Jesus hopefully is healthy enough, even though I don't see him really starting in place of Havertz, which is kind of crazy to say, but I think if he's healthy, obviously the depth he can bring off the bench will be crazy. Martinelli, Trossard are going to battle it out for that left wing spot. Either one of them I'll be happy with starting. Bringing in Calafiori I think is a very good signing. Timber is like a new signing because he lost all of last season pretty much after the first half of the first game really. He can play anywhere, center back, left back, right back even too probably. Calafiori, like I said, can play center back, he can play left back. And Saka, obviously we know what he can do. Rice, Odegaard, just a very, very good squad. We'll see what Raya does. I'm still not really convinced on him. He had a good season last year. Ramsdale, obviously we know what he can do still, so I think they're solid for goalkeepers. And I wouldn't be surprised if they do go out and get a striker if they have the funds for that. I think that's what we need, really. It's just someone to score some goals, because that's where we kind of already struggle at. Matt Havertz can get the goals, but he's not really an out-and-out striker. So it'll be interesting to see where the goals come from. Obviously, we know Saka can get goals. Like I said, Martinelli. Hopefully, they'll bounce back season there. And yeah, I see Arsenal getting it done this season. Finally, after the past couple of years, they've come so close and ended up falling short at the last step. So crossing my fingers, Arsenal can get it done this year. I think we have a very, very solid chance. And yes, that wraps up this video. My Premier League predictions for the upcoming season. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know who you have winning. Don't forget to subscribe. Follow us everywhere. We're going to be back, hopefully, with weekly, maybe bi-weekly episodes at this point right now. The NFL season is starting soon. Premier League starts in a few days, so hopefully we're going to be back with the content. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.